Hey y'all, hey, welcome to Bonafide Her podcast, giving women in sports and female athletes a voice to shine their light and share their story because it's her time to shine. We have our first guest on the first episode, Kelsey Nicole
Thank
Nelson.
you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you and congrats on starting this. I am so proud of you. I felt like since we've connected, I've just seen you continue to grow and elevate and level up in my Sierra voice. So I'm very excited for you. And you're the reason why the future of women's sports is so bright.
Thank you. That really means a lot. Now I feel like I'm about to cry, but I'm gonna do it later. So, Miss Kelsey, let the viewers know what is it about you? How did you get into where you are right now?
My gosh, I feel like I've had a crazy winding path, but I'm so thankful for everything that happened to me in my childhood because, of course, it prepared me for everything that's happening now in my adulthood. And why I really call life a journey is because I could not have expected any of this. You dream of it and then you work to make it a reality, but I feel like my reality has become so much more than little Kanan has ever dreamt about. But for me, I think I'm here because, I have loving parents for one, that supported all of my crazy ideas and goals growing up. I played a bunch of sports, Ashley, growing up, and they were taking me to every sporting event. We were busy. My parents were like, we stayed outside because I was doing soccer, basketball, volleyball. I was an active kid. So, I was always signing up for things. I cheerleaded, I did ballet, tap, and jazz. Like, I just loved, being active. I love sports. And it's honestly because of my dad, I think really that I really fell into sports, Ashley, because he was a huge sports fan. I'm pretty sure in my baby picture, he's wearing his Grambling State University jersey when I was born.
Oh,
Room. And if you ever see a black man around the DMV with Grambling State University on you, that's my dad. He's very proud HBCU man, Gramblinite. And then again, growing up here in the DC area, I grew up going to Maryland games and Georgetown Hoyas games, Ashley. And this is, when basketball in the state of Maryland and DC, I think was at an all-time high. Ravens training camps. I remember sitting on top of my dad's shoulders, watching the players, sitting next to the players' wives, in tents and things like that. So I think for me, it's been just being around sports my entire life, and knowing that I never wanted to let that feeling or emotion go, and learning how to make a career out of it, learning how to make money out of it, most importantly, learning how to sustain myself in the sports industry. And now I guess I'm 10 years strong almost since college, since I graduated undergrad, and I'm just happy and blessed. And of course, the journey is still continuing.
I know that's right. Shoot. Raven went from Grambling State to Ravens, like, woo,
I've
and
done the
it's
whole gambit. I've done the whole gambit. Maryland women's basketball, the Mystics. Like I've done everything in between, and got to grow up watching these, great teams and athletes and stories, Ashley. And that's what I wanted to be connected to. And so for me, it's just been, especially because I get to do it in my hometown. And I think you're still in your hometown, Ashley. As you know, there's no place like home. And so for me to be able to cover sports, I do more national now, but to cover sports here in the area where I grew up, where I knew what it was to sit in the nosebleed seat, and get free tickets to games, to now being able to cover those same teams as a, credentialed media member and sometimes as a fan. It just means so much, especially because people have seen my evolution, here to doing what I love.
hey, it went from the nosebleeds to, don't you love how it went from the nosebleeds to
I'm
like
higher than
courtside?
love.
It's like the biggest level of, it's like the biggest flex. Like, so
There is
I,
a God. You manifest things and it happens, and you put the work in. I'm a very big believer of work ethic, and I'm a very hungry person. And I always say, you won't outwork me. I know I've always known what I wanted, and I've put the things in place to get there. But I'm also a woman of faith, Ashley, and it's because of Him that I am here, and He continues to bless me. And so I continue to walk in His purpose.
girl, God is good all the time. All
All
the
the
time.
time.
God is good. So as someone who's the from the DMV, the
Ah,
DC area, how
yeah.
did you firstly, how did you start from where you were at the DMV to like going to the national like volley sports and brother from another? Like how did you get to those levels?
Yeah, it's a great question, and part of the answer to that question is why, when I graduated college from University of Maryland College Park, and everybody's telling me you got to go to a small town and make it back here. It just didn't make sense to me, right? I'm already in the nation's capital. Why would I leave a top market to go try a smaller market than to try to work myself back here when I'm already here? It just didn't make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to me, but everybody gets different advice. Follow whatever you think is right. But for me, it's like I took a chance and I betted on myself, Ashley, and essentially I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to try to build build my career right here, where I know the sports. And like, not only do I know the sports, I know the culture, I know the people. And that means something. And I hope people understand that, like when you actually have, lived it, been embedded in it, and again, DC is a very gentrified city now, but I've seen it change. And I know what it is, for what it means to the natives and the sports teams here. But I've also had a chance, of course, to interact with a lot of the newcomers in DC. So being able to tie that whole story together. But I think for me, it was really trying to find a lane for myself and trying to separate myself from the pack. So one of the reasons why I go by my full name, being able to kind of brand myself as KNN, I think it got people's eyes, on me, which I think means a lot, doing something different than the status quo, stepping out on faith. I started my own podcast, listening with KNN. That was another great way for people to kind of get to know who I am. I started though in the trenches, Ashley. I started, not getting paid for media work, doing local cable access television, and covering games, covering high school games, then worked my way up to college games and professional games, but essentially putting the work in, building my brand, getting people to know me, at that lower kind of level. I wouldn't say lower level, getting people to know me at the more local level, I'll say. And then of course that kind of transpired. And then of course, when you're getting to do stuff in DC, a lot of things happen here in DC, Ashley. A lot of people come here to DC. So I think the fact that people get to come see you, and obviously I built my, was doing so much and on so many shows and doing my show. And I think it eventually built up to where everybody kept seeing me. And again, I look different than a lot of people that broadcast here in DC. So, who's that girl? Who's this one? And I bring my personality, if you can't tell, to everything that I do. I'm full of joy, big advocate of Black girl joy. I'm wearing my Angel Reese sweatshirt. I'm always
I was gonna say I saw the unapologetic
me.
I was gonna say I saw the unapologetic me. I was like, that looks like an Angel Reese.
It is Angel Reese, and I've been working with. I had one of her great people from Athlete Studio who do her merchandise have a chance to come on my show, listen to them with Kanan, and they blessed me with this wonderful gear. And Angel's another girl. She's from the area like me, a Maryland girl, and she knows what it is to be a Black woman, walking in a space where people don't always want you to be yourself. And so essentially, I think when I had a chance to embrace that, I think the biggest thing actually, when I actually found my voice, I think when I was first starting out in media, I thought I had to sound like all these other different people, right? Because I'm like, nobody's going to want to like listen to me. I'm not nobody. Like nobody knows me yet. Not knowing that was the beauty that I had, that people didn't know me at first, and they wanted something new. They wanted something fresh, and they wanted to hear a different perspective. And so I think once I really found my calling and my purpose, meaning once I found how to be confident and speak for myself, I think it really transpired. And let me tell you something, when you have confidence in yourself, it initiates on other people. Other people can feel that, right? And that's why I think, honestly, I've been able to build myself in DC. And the next thing I know, your name gets spread around. I'm also super active in a lot of journalism organizations, and I network a bunch. I'm at a lot of events throughout the week. I stay busy. And so I'm always kind of putting myself out there. And the next thing you know, your name gets spread. I've had amazing mentors, in my life. One of my mentors I just met with, Carl Francis. He was my old Georgetown professor when I was in grad school. He's at the NFLPA. I've had people kind of like leaning on me, I think, for a long time and believing in me. And I think that's honestly why. It's been my mentors. It's been the networking that I've been able to do. And it's been really being able to brand myself and I think separate myself from the pack. And also not letting people deter me from my hometown and staying here. I think that's kind of what's let me kind of get more on the national scene, which again, I'm blessed for. I mean, who doesn't want to be on the national sports scene, when you break into this industry?
Right. Because I mean, everybody got a voice. And what I love about you, Kelsey, is how authentic you are. Like when we say Bonafide, like everybody say Bonafide, like, yeah, she a Bonafide hustler. Like, and I think to me, like what I love about you too, like not only you do sports too, you like, we follow each other on Twitter, everything like, you know, you talk about other topics that
Oh yeah.
that spread awareness and everything.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to journalism too, you
Yeah.
got to be able to be outside of the box too. You
Oh
got to
yeah.
be able.
Oh yeah.
So
I
how
don't
did
like boxes, Ashley. I don't like people putting me in no boxes. You never will put me in a box. So I'm very big on that. And making sure people know that I come with a lot. Yes, I am a sports reporter, where that's just one thing I do. Yes, I am a sports host. That's just one thing I do, right? I have so many facets, but I'm very big on community and, this community service, giving back, because I wouldn't be here without my village. And shout out to everybody in Germantown and Clarksburg, Maryland, who have known me and have been along for the ride and seen me grow and mature into a woman. But I'm very big because that's how I'm able to be here and sustain here. But actually, none of this is coming with me when I leave this earth. And so my biggest thing is building the legacy. What can I hand down? What can I hand back? What will people say when I'm gone from this earth after KNN is no longer here? So I think that's kind of what motivates me and pushes me to do all the different things that I'm currently doing.
Yes, because and just like you said, building a legacy, that's one of the biggest things for me. I want to be able to build a legacy because when I'm because we have so many titles. You have a whole bunch of titles, girl. Like a whole bunch.
Don't be me. Don't be me.
Girl, you have a whole bunch of titles, like from professor at Georgetown. Correct me if I'm
George
wrong.
Washington.
George
Yeah.
Washington.
See,
Okay.
at Georgetown, I'm a capstone advisor. So I'm at both universities working with students. So yes, you are so right, Ashley. But it's been a blessing. I'm giving back, and it's amazing, I have 16 students in my George Washington University class, my Georgetown class. I'm working with an international student from China and sports industry management program. So, I've truly been blessed that God has put me in positions to be able to impact the lives of others, and that people believe in me enough, to put me in these positions of leadership.
Uh, how are you able to balance, like, being a professor to doing, like, say, hosting and being, journalism and, all this stuff? How are you able to, like, balance all that?
That is the question I get the most, Ashley, and it's always the hardest to answer. I think for me, and I have a crazy schedule, but I like to think I have good time management. I am a amazing power napper and know when I can get my quick little naps in. But I think the biggest thing, is what my passion fuels me. So I do a lot, but I think I also only take on what I can take on. And so one of the biggest things, Ashley, I've learned now is that I cannot say yes to everything, even though everything sounds amazing and great, because I can't overexert myself. Like, I get so many amazing young people now reaching out to me to be a mentor. And now I'm kind of in the space where I have mentees and I can't be my best self for them because of my schedule being so crazy. So I have to be able to essentially get what they need, but be able to put them to other people who kind of have more of the time and assets so that they can have the best person in their lives. I think the biggest thing for me, honestly, is, like I said, knowing time management, doing what's right for you. So like everything has to be meaningful and intentional, Ashley. Like certain things, it doesn't make sense for me to, at this point in my career be doing. Like one of the things I just did, which meant so much to me, was I was a co-host for the Montgomery County Sports Hall of Fame. That's where I'm from. It meant so much for me to have that, opportunity to essentially like be able to, help bring in a class of 6 of the most incredible individuals that came out of my county. And then I'm on that board. So that meant a lot to me to kind of be able, to have that space and grace. But I never want to overexert myself where I just have a title and I'm not doing anything with that title. So I think the biggest thing is like making sure that everything aligns with my mission, purpose, goals, values. And then again, seeing where I can fit the time in. So luckily I have flexibility where I think I have amazing people I work with where they understand like, we're going to fit into Kelsey's schedule, which means a lot to me. So I kind of have that flexibility. I start super early in the day. I'm the only one that is rocking an 8 a.m. class, intro to news writing and reporting class, 8 to 9. And it's a good reason I start early because obviously covering sports, you usually have late nights. And so I need to kind of maximize my day. But again, that means I'm sleeping late, but I'm napping throughout the day. And again, just kind of, getting opportunities as they can come. I think now I'm like in a space where, okay, I'm like, I'm now to think, Ashley, I can't do more than 3 events in a day because I'm getting old. I get tired. I'm like, if it's once it gets to like 3, I'm like, I'm good. I'm done. I'm not doing anymore. I don't go out as much, like I would say, I don't go out just for fun as much. Like now when I'm out, if you ever see me at an event, it's a reason why I'm there. Even though my friends will be the few that will get me out to, certain things. But all that to say, yeah, I just do things that are, I guess, aligned with where I want to go in my journey. And that's kind of how I think I've been able to balance like all of these kind of different crazy things that are in my life that I honestly do love, and they help make me me.
Hey, unapologetically you.
Apologetically me always.
I didn't realize how many people are from the DC that rep so hard for DC.
Oh, we love it here, Ashley. It's a culture. We live this and breathe this.
So, like, speaking of which, representation, like, as you being a Black woman in sports, like, I always want to ask people that's in sports, how important is representation
Oh yeah.
when it comes to sports?
Oh my gosh. I think it's the biggest thing. I think one of the reasons I first got into this industry is because I didn't see enough melanin on my screen, Ashley, covering sports. My parents were always the ones, they always had the Mahatma Gandhi quote in my head, be the change you wish to see in the world. And so essentially I wanted to, and it's part of the reason why, most people, I don't know if they know this, but at Maryland, I majored in broadcast journalism, but I also got my certificate in African American studies. And I graduated from their public policy program through the Rollins Undergraduate Leadership Fellows Program. So all that to say, why I did all those different different things was my whole concept was changing the way that Black people in media were perceived. Like that was my whole thing. And when I was an undergrad in college, but for me, it's like, it's part of the reason why, I'm vice president now of our Washington Association of Black Journalists.
Woo!
I'm on the sports committee for the Society of Professional Journalists. It's one of the reasons why I teach now, because I think representation extends to not just being in front of the screen, it's behind the camera, it's in the classrooms in academia, it's in PR, it's in so many different places. It's one of the reasons why I have the HBCU fellowship and internship program for my Listen In with KNN podcast, because it's very important that sports is a reflection of society. Society is very diverse around the world. Why should sports media not be? And why it's important is because the lens and through which we tell our stories comes from. I know everyone's going to say you're not supposed to be biased, but we all have our own biases based on how we grew up and where we're from. And so you need different lenses to be able to hear the story. You need different lenses to reach different people. And I think that representation matters because when it's so easy to see it, believe it, and be it. Like I said, we were talking about Angel Reese. Think about what she was able to represent for so many. I mean, there were so many Black women that were able to be like, Angel Reese is me. Like, being able to just be herself, not be judged. Well, be judged by it, but not care about being judged by it, because knowing she's walking in her path and purpose and was able to reach the highest level. And so I think for me, it's my mentor, James Brown, comes in my head, diversity wins, inclusion matters. And I think that's how we can all win together. And just remembering sports is a microcosm of society, right? So a lot of things that happen in society, we see happen in sports. And so I think to effectively cover that, it means we need as many diverse perspectives as possible and how we get there. And I think people need to realize too, diversity means so much more than what you see. It's so much more than ethnicity and race. It's having people with disabilities cover sports. One of the groups I work with is Special Olympics International. So making sure that we have individuals with intellectual disabilities, making sure that they have access actually to cover sports. I was just on a podcast thing yesterday with Flagler College, talking about transgender people having access in sports and sports media, being able to tell their story. So all this to say, I've been in so many conversations, and again, it's just very big that we are all represented, and that not that we're just represented, but that we also stay there. I think sometimes people will be like, oh, this person got hired, but then they don't follow the trajectory of that person. Are they in position to get promoted? How long are they at that company? Have they been bypassed for opportunities, Ashley? So for me, it's that continuation of the story as we look at diversity in media and representation, but it's also why it's so important, for us to come together. One of the things I'm also working on now is a DC diversity mixer. So we're partnering with the National Association of Hispanic Journalists, the National Association of South Asian Journalists, the National Association of Arab American Journalists, and all these other, the LGBTQIA plus journalist organizations. So all these different groups being able to come together to just embrace diversity and why it matters. And I honestly think it's a beautiful thing, but I'm hoping that the rest of the world and the rest of the places catch up. Not every place is like this, but even here in DC, Ashley, we have so much more work to do to make sure that we have diverse voices and not everyone is just, looking the same, sounding the same when it comes to sports, because it matters.
Girl, like you froze a little bit. I was like, where did she go?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good, but I was like, okay, I got everything that's needed. As someone, diversity and inclusion is definitely important, because as someone like me who's autistic, who's doing sports and loves sports, and I'm like, I'm probably the only person that is doing podcasting, but then again, I may not, but I just want to be trailblazing however I want to do. It's my, but I always want to say, like, on top of that, I love what I do, be passionate, be lit with passion and stuff.
As you should be. I love that, Ashley.
So, and then another thing too, I really loved is, with you, you're just like me. When I'm up, everybody up too. And you have that personality that's like contagious, that's like, it's very warm and welcoming.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Southern girl by heart. I spent part of my childhood in Jackson, Mississippi. So I'm like all the Southern vibes I try to spread to people here, because everyone thinks people on the East Coast are mean. And no, there's nice people. I promise you on the East Coast.
We mentioned another thing. I think you said representation matters too, and it's important. I feel like one of the things that I feel like one of the biggest leagues, everybody loves football, NFL. I just, I feel like a lot of people, like, is it growing Black coaches, like head coaches, hopefully? But I feel like, just like you said, like, and one of the things is the when people interview for jobs, I feel like it's um they say, oh, we just going by this rule so we could say we did it, but then not hire that person.
Right,
And
right.
and one of the coaches you mentioned a lot is I cannot even pronounce his name right, but
Really?
Eric
Oh,
Benet.
Eric the Enemy, yes.
I noticed you're a huge advocate of why he should be a head coach. Now, can you explain more about that? Because I want to be able to learn more about that. Cause
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I think, Eric Bieniemy, he's one of those people you look him up, you see all of his credentials. But unfortunately, it seems like when he's interviewed for head coaching positions in the past, it seems like it was always an excuse, Ashley. Oh, he doesn't interview well. I've seen a lot of folks that are head coaches that didn't have good interview series or good even head coaching press conferences when they first started. I'm old enough to remember when Nick Sirianni, his introductory press conference, it was like a circus show, and now you look at him and people look at the Eagles' success, and that's not taking anything away from him. But it seems like a slap on the wrist, and it seems like, we keep talking about the Rooney Rule and what it's meant to be, but you remember the Brian Flores lawsuit, Ashley, and all these other things. And all that to say, like, Eric Bieniemy has done it as a player. He's done it as a coach, especially I think when you look at Kansas City now, you might be like, might be missing somebody, might be missing EB on that offense, in the Kansas City Chiefs. And all that to say, it seems like he keeps having to take kind of like subpar roles or be under somebody else when he's not given an opportunity. And it seems like some coaches are able to come to the NFL. I mean, this is no, shade to Jeff Saturday, but literally like the Colts grabbed Jeff Saturday off a TV set and said, here you go, become a head coach, right? And here, Eric Bieniemy, he's done it. He has the Super Bowl rings, right? He has a success record, but yet he's still being told, not just yet. Not just yet. And it's the same thing, unfortunately, a lot of coaches here. We've had this conversation for a while about why there needs to be more Black coaches. Black coaches can lead to more Black GMs. More Black GMs can lead to higher titles in leadership, and hopefully eventually more Black, not just men, but Black men and women in positions to be hopefully owners in the National Football League. And hopefully, let me be more specific, majority owners in the National Football League. That's kind of where we want to go. So I think Eric Bieniemy, I think he represents so much. I think he represents for so many, honestly, Black Americans what it's like, to be good at your job, but not to be given any advancement. I think he's somebody that's been through the trials and tribulations of coaching in the NFL, but hasn't been able to sow or reap the full benefits of it. Now, maybe something positive is what we're hearing a lot in DC right now, Ashley, is that, there'll be some coaching changes coming to Washington. Again, this is just what we're hearing. There's no guarantee on it, but, people really hoping that EB will finally have a shot to get a head coaching position. Because what came out this year in Washington angered me when it was like players were saying he was too tough or too hard. Sir, you play in the National Football League at the highest level. You get paid millions of dollars to do this job. Hell yeah, he better be hard on you. Fans are paying the high ticket money to come watch you and see you play on Sundays, on Thursdays, on Monday nights. So all that to say, I think like what has come out about him has been unfortunate, but I feel like it's been an excuse to kind of keep him in a quote place, even though he should be in a higher place and position. So I think Eric Bieniemy is just one testament to why the NFL has work to do when it comes to making sure that Black coaches are in opportunities and positions of power, and that they're given kind of the same chances or shots that white coaches are getting in the National Football League.
I always say, and I've always noticed too, like a lot of Black coaches, and
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
even in college,
Yeah.
you have a timeline. You have
Mm. Yeah.
you have a timeline. You have to win this amount of games or else you're fired.
Oh, yeah.
But all
Different
these white coaches that, and I know I'm white saying all these things. You have all these white coaches that has many losing seasons and they get away with still coaching. But
Yeah.
you have but if
More and opportunities more.
but it's like you have these Black coaches that have great credentials and, they've won as players, they won
Yeah.
as probably assistant coaches,
Yeah.
and they're on the timeline of head coach, like, okay, you got 2 years to produce a winning team or at
Yeah.
least a
And usually
conference.
they're given like a team that's super hard to turn around because that team has not been good, right? In a long way. And, let's be honest, look how Deion Sanders is being judged right now as a Black coach in college football, right? And that's not to say, okay, Colorado has some games we're all like, dang, they should have won that game. But how they started and what he's done for college football has been magnificent and extraordinary. But there's the other people who want him to pipe down, Ashley, who want him to quiet down and not be unapologetically himself, right? And that's been a larger problem in college football because, again, the good old boys days need to stop in sports. And I think it's up to us and so many voices to make sure that we, I think about the power of the Black Lives Matter movement when it was at its height, Ashley, and it became from everyday citizens, everyday people, raising their voices and essentially saying enough is enough and forcing power companies to have to act. I also like that it needs to be a new reckoning in the National Football League, essentially with more people kind of saying like, hey, like I don't want to keep supporting this team if they can't, get the diversity aspect right. When we can essentially, say we want Black players, but we don't want to put a Black coach in leadership. That's a problem. That's a problem. There's no way the NFL should be, essentially like 70% Black players and the head coaches be, you're searching for them, right? That's a problem. That's a huge problem and a huge discrepancy.
I know, like I see. I always asked. I asked one time. I asked my mom. I said, "Mom, I didn't realize Deion Sanders was huge back in the day." She's like,
Oh,
"What?
oh,
He was like he was like
he was
just
man.
like just seeing like he brought fashion to like the draft, like the swag
The
and
Jerry curl and stuff, Ashley. Oh, Deion was rocking it.
and then the fact that he played in the Super Bowl and the World Series at the same time, like
Favorite baseball, but I mean, he literally was that man, and still literally is proven that like he's that man, through everything. I think, look what he's done with the culture. Like, look at the price of the shades now, Ash. I mean, Deion has that power. If you're not watching him on football, you're watching him in commercials. Like, I mean, you talk about somebody that people are really drawn to. Deion has had that for a long time. We've been drawn to this man, but now he's been able to be placed in a position where he's able to elevate young men, to even have their kind of calling and have that power to kind of be in front of the media. So I think he's just been so fun to watch. And I think he talks about the power of, Colorado obviously giving him a shot and an opportunity, but him really getting an opportunity to make this team his own is huge.
Oh yeah. And what I love and respect about him too is there was a video one time where he told all his players, he brought all the women's staff and stuff.
I know what you're talking about. Yes, that was huge.
And I was like, I'm gonna need everybody to take notes on that because he said that what y'all gonna do is respect them. If I hear y'all disrespect them or anything, y'all off the team like automatically.
And that was like huge. I have talked about this so much because, I've worked in collegiate athletic departments. I worked in a collegiate athletic department. I was in grad school. I was working in Georgetown's athletic department, interning there. And obviously through sports coverage, I've had a chance, to see them kind of close up and personal. And I have not seen that, Ashley. And I just thought about, there, especially when you're the only woman or maybe one of a few, how much that would mean to literally have a man, literally take you up to the front of the room. And it shouldn't have to just be a man. It could be a man or a woman, but tell folks like, we ain't going to accept no disrespect, essentially, is what Deion said. And if you do it, you out of here. And so how beautiful would this be if we had so many more allies in our corner to be able to show like, this is not going to be an anomaly. This is going to be the tone and culture set. You think far too often, we have women that don't feel protected working in sports spaces. I know women who have left the sports space because, they just didn't feel like they were comfortable, in a way. And that shouldn't be. And it's not just sports. There's women who aren't comfortable in many spaces, but it's because that hasn't been the norm, where it's been like kind of like straight up, y'all got to respect these women. And this is how you do it, and I think that matters so much. And I was actually so glad the video went up there because we know how much young people actually are inspired by what they're seeing on social media. So I hope not only the men in the locker room at Colorado were inspired by that, I hope other young men who saw that video were like, you know what, I need to respect all these women I come in contact with because they're just like me. They're trying to get a job done. If anything, women are on your team staff, they're trying to support you and being the best version of you. So you need to do everything in your power to help this person help you be your best self. So I gave Deion major kudos for that. I know people felt away though, seeing that, and then him bringing the baby in. And of course, the baby Ashley is someone who hasn't had the best background with women. There's multiple things we can go through with that, whether it was slapping a fan, of course, the whole thing that happened with, I guess, his baby mother, Danny Lee. I mean, there's so many different things we can go through, with the baby, and just that were problematic with women. But I think, I'm hoping Deion can keep a consistent culture of respecting women. I really think it's going to have echoed effects, hopefully for decades to come, when it comes to respecting women who work in the collegiate athletic space.
So, and I remember there was another video I saw. It was on TikTok. It was from I think I want to say TCU, but I could be wrong. And it was after football practice, and they gathered around and they said they talked about consent. And I was like, and especially said, if a woman says no,
No means
you
no.
no, like you're not gonna pressure her. If she said no, you walk away. And this was after a football practice. I'm like, where's this energy at in all these places? Not to mention, this is a assistant coach telling these players like that they were practicing with. You look, consent. If a person says no, no, like don't don't push it. You leave.
And that's important. I think, one of the training players go through a lot, of course, once they get to the pro level, with the NFLPA is kind of, those different types of things. But I think so often in college, we see these cases, right, of sexual assault, of rape. I've seen it locally, I've seen it nationally happen at colleges. And it comes down usually to the consent. And also players remembering someone cannot give you consent if they're intoxicated. All right. This is a thing. This is a law, right? So making sure that they understand that. Because, it goes both ways. I think, you want to protect every woman on campus, but the players need to protect themselves, right? You never want to put yourself in a bad spot or situation. And literally, both ways. A woman has her, life, obviously altered and just, obviously negatively impacted if something like that happens. And then also for a player. So all that to say, I think it's so important. And I loved it. I don't know if I've seen this video, Ashley, but just what you described, I think it's so important for young men to understand that. Because, sometimes I think, when you're an athlete, everyone's telling you stuff you want to hear, not the stuff you need to hear. This is something you need to hear. It needs to be in your ear. It needs to be top of mind all the time. Because being an athlete in general, the first part of that, I think, is just being a good human being, being a good citizen.
Yes.
And I think that's what that comes down to, just in being respectful of everybody that, comes into contact with you and comes into your space.
I'm gonna send you that video when I find it because I saved it on my TikTok because I was like,
that one. See, I need to be on TikTok more. I be busy. I'm like, how do people make all these videos? That's what I need time for. Time to make these videos.
but I gotta find it because I favored it. I was like, yo, this is
I want to see it now.
Because a lot of people don't understand women in sports, especially they provide something that men are not really known to provide is nurturing. Like we have like this nurturing.
We're natural nurturers.
Yes, and sometimes like we could be able to provide the assistance, like a lot of, you see a lot of women in the physical training because that's what they studied, and we're able to like, well, there's some men that don't provide that nurturing self, so it's like, well, here is a woman that can provide, that can be empathetic with,
right,
some of the injuries that males deal with, like an ACL tear when they deal with it and how to provide that. And, as women too, another thing to me is the Title IX. I feel like it's been 51 years or 50 since Title IX like was established, and yet it's still getting twisted or it's not being taken seriously, even in like the hiring process, or like if something happens, a scandal happens, it is not taken seriously. And my question is, how can, as society and people in power, when it comes to like a huge corporation like NCAA, they are a huge corporation because they're making money, how can they will actually take this seriously to where women in sports can be actually protected and feel like they belong?
Yeah, this is a word because this is what needs to happen, throughout the collegiate sports space. And you said it, I remember last year being part of so many, 50-year celebrations for Title IX. And now we're in 2023. And as you said, we're at 51 years. But I think we know we have so much more to go. And yes, Title IX has been able to make strides and it's had an impact. But in general, just protecting women in the sports space, I think, as you're mentioning, it can do more. And I think this is why I love being on college campuses, Ashley, because I think this is where you see some of the most activism, happening around the country. I think it's, and don't just put the pressure on student athletes. If you see something wrong, call it out. Go to your athletic department, start a petition, right? These are all things that are simple and easy to do. You can organize a protest on your campus, know your First Amendment rights. So all this to say, I think it's up to kind of all of us to kind of help put pressure on our universities and colleges, and honestly, sports teams, leagues, to call things out when we see injustices happening. We can't stay silent. One of my favorite Dr. King quotes, I'm going to misquote it wrong, but like we we kind of die the day we become silent on issues that matter. And I think that means so much. You can't just be silent and act like you're part of a movement. No, you're either for the movement or you're not for the movement.
Mhm.
We can't keep doing this, middle ground game when we're trying to be in the middle. Like, no, you're either on the right side or the wrong side. It just is that simple. So all that to say, I think it's, one, how are you supporting, female athletics in your school? One of the things one of the things I've had a privilege, to be part of Georgetown now is to be able to, and privy to be invited to conversations where we're talking about how we can help our student athletes at Georgetown University. And for me, it means a lot because not only did I go to Georgetown, but one of the things I used to do for Big East Digital Network, actually, was I was a sideline reporter for them. And, speaking about Georgetown, rest in peace, Tasha Butts, the former women's basketball coach who unfortunately recently died to breast cancer. Just had to put that out there because obviously it's just heartbreaking anytime that happens. But like I said, it's like now I'm not just just seeing something happen. Now I'm actually part of the conversations, actually to make things happen, right? And then what's the follow up to these conversations? That's also something I don't like. I hate to be part of conversations and then nothing happens. Like, oh, we had this great talk and we said we're going to do all these things, but then there's no action steps behind it. So I think that's super important, making sure there's an action plan. I think it's, what can you do on social media? Like if these athletes are, I remember the NCAA tournament when the women athletes like literally took pictures of their weight room and
Mhm.
like, this is what our weight room looks like. This is what the men's weight room looks like. And that was just a good example of how many people got on that once they literally saw the injustices happening. Do the women athletes, do they not need as strong of arms as men or something? Actually, like, what in the world happened there, right? So it was ridiculous. It was crazy. When people started acting upon it, people started retweeting, sharing, tweeting the NCAA. What happened? Better believe that locker room came in and got fixed and upgraded, right? So that was just one example, I think, of ways that we can make sure that Title IX is living up to its expectations. I'm big on education. Know what Title IX is. Educate yourself on it so that you can be the best advocate,
Yes.
as well. Don't just rely on information that you see on social media because there is some wrong information, folks, on social media that you can't believe. So I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing, like to empower others. We first need to empower ourselves. To empower ourselves, we need to educate ourselves. It's all the E's. And then once we educate ourselves and empower ourselves, we can eradicate ourselves from the bonds that we've so long been in. I can get very intimate in these type of things, but women's sports mean so much to me. And obviously, like seeing Title IX through its kind of growth through my own lifetime. Again, like I said, I'm thankful for the trailblazers, and those who kind of paved and set the way. But I think they know the work's not done, Ashley. Like, if anything, we're just getting started. We're dusting off our hands and getting ready to go, to the next issue as it pertains to Title IX.
I know that's right. You made like I could talk about this with you because you bring so many gems and wisdom to it. And I'm like, I, keep talking. I'm listening and stuff. But I noticed too. You are hard hitting, like straight to the point questions. And one of the biggest thing in journalism, you got to be able to ask these questions. And I noticed when it comes to women's sports, and you've seen this too in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Black women often get ostracized and
Mhm.
ridiculed,
Mhm.
especially in the NCAA tournament when Caitlin Clark did this, and then when Angel Reese did this as a thing, she
Yeah.
got ostracized, saying, "Oh, she's like ghetto and all this stuff." But
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark got. Why is it that Black women in sports, and I want your input on it, but why is it that Black women in sport get more criticized than say their white counterparts?
Yeah, I love this question. I think people have to realize, like, some people like to think we live in this perfect post-racial society. Well, I'm here to break it to you, we don't. And sports touches everything. It touches sexism, it touches racism, it touches everything else that happens in society, right? Sports is not immune to that. If anything, sports is integrated into it. That's kind of why and I think you see it at a higher level at times. There's a reason why the WNBA, which is a predominantly Black league, gets judged very differently than other leagues. I think, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, it was a microcosm. Again, sports are a microcosm of society. For so long, Black women were told to, kind of stay in our place, be quiet, be soft, don't be loud, don't be noticed, by others. And then when we do kind of find ourselves is, oh, it's too much for others to handle, and here Angel Reese like literally did something that her competitive athlete had started, but she's judged differently. Like you said, oh, she's loud. I think I saw people literally putting, oh, she's a horrible role model. Why'd your tune change all of a sudden? Because she's being competitive in a sport. And we ask for competition, right? What are some of the doubters say, oh, women's sports isn't competitive like men's? We just have one of the best NCAA championship games that we've ever had in history.
And the viewership show too.
And the viewership show, more y'all were watching that than the men. So all that to say, I think what happened with Angel Reese makes us have to realize that, again, racism exists in sports, y'all. Sexism exists in sports. And Angel Reese has she was a catalyst for what has been happening in society. She made some folks mad, because all of a sudden, and I think people have to realize, like Caitlin Clark, and this is why I go back to race in sports, people were calling her the Great White Hope, and if you know sports, you know exactly what I'm alluding to, by that, like trying to say like she's a savior, of women's basketball. And let me tell you, I'm a Caitlin Clark fan. That girl can shoot the lights out. Like, let me be clear, like Caitlin Clark can ball. Like, I'm excited for this women's college basketball season, Ashley. I'm excited to watch her. It's been so great to see what she's done for the game in Iowa, the long lines of fans around the building, right, to watch this young woman play. It's been beautiful. It's also been beautiful to see what Angel Reese has done. If anything, I'm glad to see that Angel Reese, the advertisers and sponsors have seen her. Like, the girl continues to win, Ashley. Reebok. Yeah. She got it right here in Maryland, right next door to me in DC. She got, the mayor gave her her own day. Like, and I think it's been great to see the support, but she's still getting like, the negativity. Because if you remember, there were so many articles. I mean, we had grown men calling her out of her name, if you remember, Ashley, grown broadcasters calling this young woman in college out of her name for that act. And I think, like I said, people don't like change, and they don't like to. So in their minds, they're like, they want women athletes to kind of, again, they don't want to think about them almost because they haven't been supporting women's sports. But Angel Reese has made it be, you have to know her. You have to see her. And that triggered and bothered some people. So again, it's so many different levels. But I think what Angel did for the game was amazing, because if anything, we're still talking about it. It's still getting eyes on it. And again, Angel being unapologetically her. That's why, and I love one of her quotes, this is for all the Black girls that look like me, that talk like me. Because we can't be all placed into this box. And we're not supposed to be all placed into this box. If that were the case, God would have made us in a way where we all look the same and sounded the same. But there's a reason why none of us look or sound the same. We're all different and are each unique in different ways. So all that to say, I think Angel has really showed that there is individuality in sports, and that she's going to be her. And that women can be athletic and competitive too. Like, if this were men doing this, I feel like it would not have gotten to this level. But for a woman to do it, it's like, hold my pearls. Like, what in the world? Yeah, it's like, stop it. Y'all know better than that. So I love what Angel Reese represents, and I'm excited to watch her this basketball season.
I know that Iowa is playing against Virginia Tech down in Charlotte because it's the Ally thing.
Nice. Are you going?
I want to go, but it's like the tickets probably already sold because it's Caitlin Clark versus Elizabeth.
Look, get your media credential. You got this Bonafide podcast. Look, Ashley, it's about that time.
I know, but it's like, all I know is and another thing too, you mentioned the WNBA too, which shout out to the Aces. They won because I wanted to see I know you saw your Soror, Asia Wilson.
Yes, my beautiful AKA Soror. Love seeing her win.
Yes, and another thing that I saw was, I don't know, there was a guy that says the best high school team can beat the national WNBA team. Like, yes. It's always these people that's misogynistic that feel like the WNBA is not competitive. And then I remember Patrick Beverly, he said it on his podcast, and I think I retweeted it. He said that, like, he basically dismissed what that guy's saying. Like, he don't know what he's talking about because he played against Ariel Powers, who is, in the WNBA.
Yes, I remember covering Ariel when she was here in Washington.
Really?
Yeah.
So, like, Patrick Beverly basically say, these women in WNBA, they're just as strong as us. They're competitive and just, he basically dismissing what this man's saying. Ariel Powers was one of them, like, going through the screens and stuff. And I feel like if we could have more NBA players just like Patrick Beverly, even though there's things I'm not a big fan, but I respect what he's at times, but you can love him or you can hate him. That's the thing.
He's one of those figures, right? It's like you love him when you love him, and then I feel like he's hated when he's hated. But, I think, and I'm not even going to name the man that said that because he doesn't even deserve, Ashley, any credit on your platform. But people say things sometimes because they want to stir the pot. He was looking for clout. And he got it. He was clout chasing. It was beyond disrespectful. I'm glad people, put him in his place. But for him to say that, And the Aces are a team that rival anybody. And I truly do mean anybody. I mean, we were watching greatness at its height back to back. Like these women have done it all. And for him to be as disrespectful, misogynistic, and so many other things, it just shows you, you're always going to have the naysayers. You're always going to have the haters. But I think that's what makes the Aces so fun. I mean, they're making us talk about them, right? Usher making us talk about them, giving them their fair of a celebration, and all this to say, they don't worry about, they don't worry about the opinions of peons like that to even say something like that. It just shows you again how we haven't advanced like we think we have fully advanced as a society, unfortunately, because like it was wrong in so many ways. And I was glad Patrick and other people, like a lot of people started tweeting it, like his quote tweets got crazy on that. I'm glad a lot of people started being like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't it, because it wasn't it. And I'm glad the Aces are just still living their best lives, unbothered by that.
And I was actually cheering for them because I want to see Candace Parker win another ring.
Yes.
And 3 rings. And at this point, I love her as a color commentator and analyst for NBA on TV.
She's amazing. Yes.
And you and you're an AKA too. I meant to ask you too. You probably get all this questions. How did you become? What interests you becoming an AKA, and how is it to see? What's it like to see AKA members that's in the sports to thrive? Just like you, just thrive and make a name and make history.
Oh, thank you. Like Asia's crushing it. I'm not gonna put myself near Asia's level. Like I'm just little old me trying to make it, Ashley. But let me tell you, I love seeing Black excellence. I love seeing Divine Nine organizations win and their greatness. For me, I was proud to become a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I crossed back at University of Maryland, College Park. They had a new chapter, and it's something I knew I wanted since I was a little girl, just because I was surrounded from a young age from Black AKA women, Black members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. They were in the community with us. They were, helping to educate us, volunteering with us. And that meant something. And I wanted to be like them, making a difference in the community, service to all mankind. It resonated with me. And then, just knowing that they were the first, once you educate yourself on what they were able to do. And for Black women, it meant something. And so for me, it was like, I want to carry that torch. I want to be part of this organization. And, luckily I had the privilege in undergrad to officially become a member. And it's something I hold near and dear to my heart, something I'm so proud of. And I'm just so blessed to have so many incredible sisters, of the sorority, doing amazing and incredible things in sports and business. I mean, I'm inspired by so many, Ashley, that just get the job done, every single day. And I think it's a beautiful thing, to see. Sandra Douglas, if you guys are Raiders fans, she's an AKA, and look at what she's been able to do with that organization, right, as president. I know the Raiders got some stuff going on, but still, what she's been able to do, it's been like a beautiful thing. So just one example, but there's so many. And again, just greatness, Ashley, when it comes to Divine Nine Black Greek organizations.
I just love the story of the Divine Nine. Like I have the book about it. And it's very interesting to see how each and every one of them have done so much for the community that's beyond just the community, but like that push the laws too, that were part of the whole huge movements in American history.
Yeah, civil rights and everything. That's why when you educate yourself, it's like you'll become better for it. But then it's like when you get to be part of an organization that has helped, create change, it means something. It means something. And so, it means so much to me for that to be part of my identity today.
Would you say if there was, and I just want, there's no little OU girl. Don't ever minimize your success.
I'm humble, Ashley. That's what it is. I'm very humble. And when things happen to me, I think people are more like, Kelsey, oh my God, you're doing all these things. And I'm just like, I'm thankful. I get emotional. I'm not an emotional person when I get things. It takes me back to how I grew up and where I grew up. And, I remember all the people that told me I couldn't be it, Ashley. And that's why I think I'm always humble because, it's been a journey. It has been a journey. And I know, people see the social media, they see the glory, but they truly don't know the story. And so for me, getting to hear it, it means a lot. And of course, I'm still working to get, to where I want to go, but I'm still a little girl from Germantown, Maryland, that had a dream. And so I take that to heart. with everything I do. So I'm just humble. I'm humble. I don't put myself on any pedestal. I'm just Kelsey.
Hey, one of one, girl. One of one. Once in a lifetime, I always say. But who would you say inspired you to get where you are in both life and sports?
I think it's my parents. I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but my parents worked so hard to provide, life for me and my sister. They moved from Jackson, Mississippi to where I grew up in Montgomery County, Maryland, because they wanted us to be able to have access to a good school system. And, it's unfortunate that not all school systems are good, right, in every zip code. And that's something that we're working to try to change. It's one of the reasons why I started my, about to soon be launching my Canon Foundation, which my Books Breaking Borders organization will be under. But, my parents also, they made sure I was always like I said, they took me to every game, Ashley. They took me to every practice. There was never a time I couldn't look up in the stands and see them, even though they worked so much, and I always say they dropped me off at daycare first. So I was last to leave, but they always made sure I had a place to go, right? They always made sure I had a place to go. And when they were doing that, maybe they didn't realize it then, but I was always near caring adults. I was able to obviously stay out the streets, and not be doing things I didn't need to do. So I think my parents are like the true testament to like what it is to sacrifice at the highest level and provide for your children, and kids. And so everything I do now, Ashley, is like, I hope I make mom and dad proud. I hope I make them proud, with all that I'm doing, because I'm just so thankful, for what they did for me, to be able to get to where I am today. So it's them. I'm inspired. I'm inspired by them, their high school sweethearts, their love story. Like they're just and amazing. And even now, like my magazine cover just came out. My mom right away, she sent me a thing, how many copies she bought, and that's just the support I have from them. And that means, it means a lot to me. And I never take it for granted.
I was gonna say red looks fabulous on you. The ravishing
red.
red.
It's the wrong color as an AKA woman, but I do love red.
I was like, that's that red dress she be working with on the Bali sports. And
it's so funny. I swear, whenever I get a red dress, I take a picture of it. I don't know what it is, but it's like it goes crazy. I don't know what it is about a red dress, and it's like every now and then I'm like, because I love red lipstick, Ashley. I'll get a red dress because I'm like, oh, later in the night, I'll put some red lipstick on with the red dress. And I don't know what it is, but red is, I guess everybody has a color, and somehow people are telling me red is mine. But thank you. I so appreciate that.
Oh, big congratulations to you on your recent inductions, like for the Hall of Fame of like you had like 5 of them going on. Like that girl. So
I'm humble, Ashley. I am blessed. This year has been a whirlwind. Like this year I was blessed. I did a panel with Ciroc during Super Bowl and Black women in sports. And, then I got a presidential award this year. I'll be getting next month in December. Like when I tell you, Ashley, like I look up sometimes and I'm like, my gosh, like, thank you. Like God has covered me and humbled me and protected me in so many ways, but he also blessed me, Ashley, in so many ways. And I'm thankful. I mean, I'm so thankful that people, think of me for these, honors. And, I don't do it for that, of course, but, it's like you forget that people are watching you sometimes. I think like you just do it because you love it. And then you get something that's like, oh, shoot, somebody was watching me. Like somebody nominated me. Like, and it's a humbling experience just to know that like you're inspiring other people, or other people just, feel, feeling their power enough to want to shout you out. So again, I'm humble, Ashley. I am humbled by every single thing that has come my way. And I am thankful for 2023 because it has been a year of continued blessings.
girl, I know that's right. Hey, the prayers go up, the blessings come down.
Look, thank you. So I'm thankful. And like I said, I don't take anything for granted. Any award, anything that's been out there, I don't care what it is. Like if somebody recognizes me, if it's you inviting me on the podcast, like I'm just thankful for the opportunities that he continues to afford me.
Yes, because for me, when it comes to women, I believe I'm huge when it comes to supporting women in sports and women in general, because we need more support in women in the community of women, because
everybody wins, y'all. We need to show love to each other. I'm so big on that end. I'm actually true to women empowerment, not just speaking it, but like supporting each other. Like when we first met, I'm like, girl, I love this girl. Yes, Ashley, come. Like I agree with you so much. And I really wish more of us, fully embrace that like sisterhood aspect, because we can all win. We can all eat. Is room for all of us, y'all, at the table.
Speaking of the table, I remember you said when we spoke last time, you said, you're going to make sure when you come in the room, you have a table at this highest seat, because you come in there, like you're going to make sure you go in the room that there's opportunities, like your name is calling your name. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest quotes you said one time, you said, you turn that no into on.
I
So you
do.
switch it. So could you break down for someone that may not understand what that means? Could you break that down and so
Yeah.
people can understand it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, people kind of like people will see all these things that you get, not realizing actually all the things you don't get, or all the no's that you've gotten, or all the people that doubted you. And a lot of times, I think, all of us want to win, but a lot of times when we have that failure, what we consider failure or rejection, some people feel like it's a stop. And what I think I've had to learn in life is that that's just God pivoting you to something greater. And again, I speak as a woman of faith. And so I want to make sure I make that clear. So all that to say, for me, when I see a no, that means to me, I switch the words around and I say, that means God is turning me on. That no is an on, turning me on to something else. And that's what my career has been. People, again, they see the wins and things I've done. They don't know all the no's I've gotten, but all those no's have helped me to get to my purposes, right? And things I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think you have to look at things. Like, it's hard to get rejection. I still get mad. Actually, let me be clear. I still get mad when I don't get things. Not like I'm like, rejected. No, I get mad. I'm a person. I'm human. I have emotions. But then I also have to realize, okay, that's not the end of the world. I'll be fine. If anything, that's their loss. They don't get to have me. So now
Period.
I'm like, what do I move on to? And so for me, that's what keeps me hungry. I'm never satisfied. I'm always turned on to something, in what's out there. What is the next thing? And that's what kind of keeps me going. It's what keeps me motivated. It's what keeps me high energy, and doing what I'm doing. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like, don't let a no think that's a no right now, not forever. And also know that you can be turned on to that opportunity again in the future. Like, many people don't know this, but when I first wanted to work for the Commanders, they were in the Redskins. I got denied. I got denied multiple times.
What?
I did. I got denied. They kept saying, no, not right now, not right now. Later on in life, now it's one of the things people know me for best, right? Is having 3 shows with the Commanders, right? 2 of them digital, 1 a television show here in DC, and obviously now covering the team. So I say, I give that example, like, don't be discouraged. Do not be discouraged, by things. And sometimes it's not meant for right then. It's for later on. God, he's protecting you, and I look back, and when I came onto the team, it was a great time again, because I was a Black woman that was able to do 2 shows and a TV show for a top NFL franchise in my hometown. All right. That meant something. So I share that to say, because, I think it's very important for people to sometimes know that, if sometimes people think like they'll see you getting stuff and I think you get everything, and no, it's not true. Nobody gets everything. We post the good stuff, like most people do. Right. Because most people, you ain't gonna post your tough times or trying times. Like, I'm a person, I like to spread joy, so I don't post and I'm a private person. I don't really post if I'm going through something, nobody probably will ever know, Ashley, because for me, it's like, it's not for you guys to have to deal with, what I'm going through. If anything, it's me to try to spread joy. There's enough happening in the world, as right now. So how can I be an advocate for Black girl joy? And how can I push Black boy joy? And how can I push world joy? How can everybody be happy? So that's kind of how my frame is. But yeah, so my biggest thing is, turn that no, just switch it around. It's an easy switch. Switch it around, reverse it, whatever you need to do, Missy Elliott, reverse it, whatever y'all need to do. Get it to where you need to get it to. And I'm telling you, it will change your mindset and it'll change your perspective on life.
Man, it's like almost like a full circle, like a 180 is how the Commanders no, but then it's like, actually, we need you. Like,
look, things happen, and I'm sure many people have had that, maybe the first time around you didn't get it. Maybe the second time around you didn't even get it. Then maybe the third time around it was the third time's the charm, right? So I think that's why you have to really look at, and then sometimes you might look at stuff that you wanted, and then maybe you look back and you be like, you see it and you're like, maybe it's good I didn't get it. Maybe sometimes it's that too. So just know, again, everything happens for a reason and a purpose, but it's not the end of the world if you don't get that. We all have dream jobs. I've had things I haven't gotten, and I was like, dang, this is what I really wanted since I was a child. But then God has blessed me with other things. I'm like, dang, I wasn't even expecting this, but this is incredible. And this is amazing. And I'm just thankful, so that's really what my life has been. Just, pivoting, being placed in different spaces and given opportunities and trying to make the most of them.
And I remember you're so big in manifestation, like saying, I am, I will, I declare, I decree. And I was like, look at God. Like, she be saying, because I'm tweeting like, man, I want to be here. I'm going to do, I'm always saying, I would love to win an ESPY one day.
Look, it's coming. I want to win an ESPY one day. Like, hopefully we win it together.
Yeah, but because I just want to hold that word, but look now, especially I would love to see women win more ESPYs than men, low key. High key, actually. High key, not
I'm
low
like,
key.
snap, snap,
Because,
snap.
it's, we saw so many women in sports break numerous records, but then, like, say in the ESPYs, it's like, oh, they'll give it to the guy. I'm like, Simone Biles had like,
Ugh,
uh,
yeah.
Trinity Thomas had like perfect tens, and it's like,
Mm,
how
mm.
does how does like
That's a
something that
conversation. Look, we're gonna manifest it. We're gonna manifest it gets better for women and sports. Like I said, women have just done. I mean, you talk about Simone. Simone just came off an incredible. Like, I mean, that young woman is incredible. She's goated. Like, I mean, she's at the top of her game.
she
Like,
got 5 moves named after
there's
her.
no touching her. Like, there's no touching her. We are just privileged to watch the greatness continue.
And
That's
now
what we're
she's a football wife now. Like,
got her baby, got her ring.
and it's crazy. I love, what this is in, I love the picture that they showed where she looks like a proud wife moment to see her man just like, and
See
I'm
him
like,
winning too. It's a beautiful thing. And that's what you want. You want that love to exuberate, and I think that's what you see, that young love with those two. So I'm happy for her. I'm happy she's back in a good mental space. I'm happy she's back winning. And I'm happy she looks like she's happy doing it. Because at the end of the day, you need to love what you do and enjoy what you do. And then I love that she again has a man that she can love on and love for and love with. So that's a beautiful thing.
It's crazy. As much as people love to talk about like no shade to Taylor Swift and the Travis thing,
Yeah.
like why can't they do that with like y'all? Why don't y'all blow up where Simone Biles is
Her
watching her
baby.
man?
Yeah, it should be, but the Swifty effect is real. So I get it. They're following what the media, what sells, and what's being talked about. But you're right, it should be talked about more.
But you mentioned about mental health. How important is mental health when it comes to sports, and how much it really needs to be talked about? To be honest, how much should
Oh
it
my
be talked about?
gosh. Yeah, it's so important. One of my favorite events of the year that I got to cover was Lamar Jackson had an event here in DC called It's Okay Not to Be Okay. And it was so important. And I think with athletes, like it's hard, right? Because it's always like, oh, they're always tough and they're always strong and nothing's supposed to be going on, but they're human and they battle things just like the rest of us. And to me, your mind, body, and soul need to be good in order for you to be your best self. And I think that mind part sometimes, gets thrown to the side. And I think for all of us, like the mental health aspect, I don't think it's key. Like you can be in the best physical health, but if your mind ain't right, you ain't gonna be probably doing what you need to do. It's like it's a psyche. Like one of the things I loved about the Jordan documentary that we all watched together during COVID, was like he put things in his mind, and that's how he was able to go out, and play his best game. Some people might think it was weird or whatever, but you do whatever you need to do to get yourself in the right mindset. Like, so for me, even though my schedule's crazy, like I take an hour each day and it's just for me. Whether it's watching a movie, whether it's me walking around my community, like I take an hour for me to protect my own mental space. Because when you're doing so much, it's a lot. And, for me too, like, might be, I don't need to respond to everything right now. I'll get back to it at a later date. So whatever protects your mental space, like one of the things I want to get into, people keep trying to talk me into it. I'm trying to get into yoga. Not hasn't happened yet, but I'm trying to make it happen. I'm trying to manifest it, because I want to have that. Like I want to see if it helps me like find peace, more peace in my day. So there's different things, but I think for me, it's honestly for me, it's most important because even if my mind's not right, like it's hard to do anything for that day, right? Because I'm like I'm messed up in the mind. I can't focus. I can't think, and a lot of my mind is focusing and thinking. So it needs to be good. So I think it needs to be prioritized. One of the things when I email people, I'm like, hey, how are you? Checking in on you. Like I always will check on you as a person first. I think that's so important to remember. Like that should always be the first thing. How are you doing? How have you been? Then let's get to the next part. But I think it's just remembering again, you never know what somebody's going through. And a simple hello, hi, how you doing, smile can change somebody's day.
Yeah, so like for me, like just providing, see, for me, when I started this podcast, I always want to be able to provide that safe space for women in sports, such
Yeah.
as yourself and everybody, because, and I always want to make sure everybody's well being, because you could be on the show and you could be here, but not here. Like you could be
Right.
somewhere.
Right.
And to me, like, and I'm the type of person to work around people's schedule. Like, hey, I know you got stuff to do, but
Right. Right.
and to me, it's important to provide that safe space for people because how many times do people get judged every day? Like they don't want to get judged numerous times and stuff. Like
Right.
allow
Right.
them to be able to express and take their time to explain like how they're feeling. What
Right.
is their journey like? Because, you know, their story could be very relatable to the next person. And
Exactly. Exactly right.
so, before we go, can you explain the book, your book, Beyond Borders?
Yes, my books, Breaking Borders, Books in Educational Bankruptcy. I am so, so, so excited because at the end of this year, I'm launching my K&N Foundation, which is going to have Books Breaking Borders incorporated under it. And Books Breaking Borders, essentially, it's to help close the achievement gap. There's a large achievement gap between Black students and their white counterparts. And in order to be successful, I end every email with education is the key to unlocking the world, a passport to freedom. That was said by Oprah Winfrey. Education is so important. We have to make sure our babies know how to read and write on grade level if they're going to make it in this world, because we have too many prisons and people trying to make money off of them not, and too many people betting against them. And to any job, I say the basics are you have to know how to read and you have to know how to write. I don't care what the job is, you need to know how to read and you have to know how to write. And if our kids are being passed through school systems, that's not doing anybody any good. It's doing them an injustice. So it focuses on that. It helps to build self-confidence, whether that be through spelling bees, in spelling bees. I don't think people realize you get so much confidence. It's a lot to stand in front of people and a lot to have pressure on you in the time frame that you need to spell by. But those oral speaking skills can help you so much. It means a lot to have public speaking skills. Like me, I think about it, I do so much public speaking now, and it was not the goal when I was younger, but luckily my skills have transcended and people want to hear from me, which means a lot to me, and they want me to lead stuff. So making kids are supported in that. And the biggest thing actually is making sure we educate the whole family. It's not enough just to teach a child how to read, because if they go home and their parents aren't able to help them with homework, that's also a problem. So how do we educate the whole family to be able to work together? And that's what Books Breaking Borders, Books in Educational Bankruptcy is based on. It's a community action project. We're based here in the DMV, but I've been asked to expand it. So it needs to build out my team actually. So we can, get to those parts, but it's my heart project. I started this when I was an undergraduate student at the University of Maryland, after being in the classroom, being in schools, working with students and seeing this up close and personal. And I was tired of just looking at the problem outside in. I decided to solve the problem from inside out. So that's what Books Breaking Borders is.
I just love it because I love books. I like the smell of books for some reason. I'm
I
such a
miss
nerd.
reading books. Like so I just saw this Hulu premiere of Black Clover, and they gave me the book, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I love books. And when I was younger, Ashley used to just read. I've been busy now, but like part of my mental health is I'm going to take some time out to read.
I know
I'm going
that's
to
right.
put my pages. I want to put a bookmark in, I want to do all that stuff we used to do.
So like on my Christmas wish list, I'm like, I'm gonna just list all these books and
And I
stuff.
can't wait to read your book, Ashley. So
I, it's I'm working on another one that's gonna be more poetry.
congratulations. That's exciting. Author, two-time author. I'm here for it. I love it.
Hey, you gotta, you gotta have a backup plan sometimes. You gotta be able to make money through different routes, because you can't
Yes.
just make money on like one thing and then say
Oh,
something
no.
happens and it's like cut
And
off.
then
Like,
boom, you're talking to someone who understands that. That's why I have multiple. So I do multiple things, multiple checks.
so if say someone was in, say like a me, or is interested in donating the books, how can say a person be able to donate books to your
Yes,
foundation?
great question. All of our information is on our website, booksbreakingborders.com. We have an address you can actually mail books to. We also accept donations, which has been great, because one of the things we do is actually build portable libraries and community centers and nonprofit organizations. And so, of course, the funds kind of help to cover those transportation costs and the wood costs and paint costs for like the kids to paint it and make it their own. So it's simple. Again, booksbreakingborders.com. I would love the support. It means, again, so, so, so much. And I can soon be on the details for when the K&N Foundation officially launches. It's gonna be a whirlwind. So I'm so excited to be able to lead that.
Yes. Miss Kelsey, can you tell the folks how they can follow you in your journey? Like what are you any upcoming things coming up?
Yeah, so follow me first, get the website, bookmark it, KelseyNicoleNelson.com. The easiest way to follow me, but social media, I have to add a lot, so Ashley knows. So follow me at The Real K Nelson. It's on everything, The Real K Nelson, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you need, follow me on that, and get portions of my life, LinkedIn, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, and my YouTube channel, just Kelsey Nelson. So again, follow everything. Also check out my podcast, Listening with Kanan. You can go to listeninwithkanan.com and you can search Listening with Kanan anywhere you get your favorite podcast. So hope to have you all there. And I have a lot coming up. I'm super excited. I have new shows dropping. I'll be on some shows dropping. So just follow the journey because I've got a lot going on. And if you want to catch up with my students, also follow the journey to see what they're doing. And I'm also always looking for amazing guest speakers in journalism. So hit me up if you are interested in that as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for coming on the show. Be sure to follow Kelsey Nicole Nelson on all the things that she just said, her social media, the website, and support her. Support women in sports because, we need it. The recognition is much deserved, and we invest in women, pay women, hire women, just like Kelsey's trainer says. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Kelsey, for coming on the show.
Yes, I was honored. This was fun.
Yes. Have a great day, y'all. Stay blessed and stay safe.
Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.